No, okay, so they're going to hand over the Zeri, assuming that V5 prioritized that, insta-lock, so it's just the strongest champion on 12-11, so we'll see where they want to go with that draft. Things like Yuumi up, obviously as well, over in Europe, what we did start to see a lot of is the Twitch as kind of an answer, whether or not we'll actually get, okay, well, hover, lock in, there you go. And the pairings, pretty interesting, right? You can go down the Renata route, or the obvious takeaway for Yuumi is probably the stronger of the two. It just means that the issue is you give over Renata to an already very powerful champion in Zeri for the bailout to come in and keep her alive in some of those team fights. We'll see how W want to pilot this though, because definitely Twitch, Yuumi, Tom and Jerry bottom lane into Zeri. It's something that's tried and tested. It doesn't actually have a whole bunch of success in the league that I'm from in the NLC, but hopefully we'll get to see Smlz and Heal bring this one to fruition. Away from the Renata, hovering the Lulu, trying to maybe match the level of utility that can be brought by the Yuumi seems to be the angle here for V5, and then Rich will also take the Gnar in this rotation to probably deny away a very strong team fighting top laner from WE.
It's just funny to me because you've come into the LPL, which I think is one of the hardest leagues to predict. We have 17 teams with very different diversities of champion pools, and we have some of the most uniques in the world, and it'd even be up there with NLC with the amount of games we have. But pulling out something like Twitch, Jamada, you'll fit in quite nicely here, I think. Look, along those routes, as we see the standard picks otherwise locked in, like Rich's Gnar, you already called out, Beishang back on the Lee Sin. I think the most interesting thing is that you're seeing it in NLC, we've seen it a little bit in NA. We have not seen it in the LPL, bar one time. Twitch is not being played here at all, so for our fans, it's completely offshoot, because Jackie Love from Top Esports is the only person to ever pull it out this split. So second time running here for Smlz as he joins back on the WE roster. We're going to have to see how you supplement it, because as you were just alluding to, maybe WE want to play around this with such a volatile lane.
Yeah, I think so. It'll probably be the case. Into the second ban phase, Viego off the table makes a whole bunch of sense. I wonder if they're also just going to look towards the Rex side just for the simple sake of V5 have Casa, he plays it. Maybe by extension, Jialing Bao also does. They're actually going to go for the Trundle. I think that makes a little more sense just because Pillar can be so oppressive into a very immobile Twitch in the early game. So V5 now probably just going to look to take away another. I was actually going to say top laner. I guess technically Silas can flex into that. I wonder what that spells though for what they're looking to pick up. Maybe an Ahri for Dream could be what the pick is in the mid lane. Silas obviously
left open.
Picked up as an answer. It's still left open. I mean, yeah, I mean, WE realistically are just going to go for the top side. BiuBiu, something like Kale would be kind of bonkers for this Twitch, right? Being able to give him the invulnerability, but it's about getting to that point, and WE, they're going to take the Lissandra blind as opposed to going towards their top side matchup. I wonder if they were debating whether or not to go top now. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a curious choice. Maybe they're anticipating that Ahri is kind of the only reasonable pick here for Dream, so they're just going to try and make him pick into a uncomfortable matchup. Corki is also another option, I suppose, but the same thing kind of is the issue for that, right? The lockdown comes in from the Lissandra. Even if you've got the Valkyrie, you're basically just working with less mobility than Ahri has. So we'll see what Dream actually wants to take here, as honestly, options are kind of wide open. You could even go for something like a Zir if you want to try and give Twitch a bit of an issue in some of these team fights in terms of that range. Enabling with the Galio though, and again, some more of that semi-global pressure is super cool to see, and should be able to contest this mid 2v2 now with that early powerhouse skirmishing that Galio can bring.
Very on theme though, isn't it? Like when we see Gnar, when we see Galio, when we see V5's comp, we think very on theme. Look at WE as well. You could say a very similar thing if the GP gets locked in as well. As before we saw the hovering of Cal. You like that one, Jamada. And without the Nasus being locked in on the return on, I guess, a blind opportunity, we are still going to get the GP nevertheless. So is it fair to say that this game is just about the bottom side and who comes out ahead in lane?
I mean, I feel like the answer is just simply yes, right? And you have two globals on both sides. You've got the GP ultimate and you have the Galio ultimate. I think V5 are really going to look to just ensure that Photic and ppgod, even in what you would probably consider a negative matchup between the AD carries, have a really, really comfortable time getting to those scaling points. I think for Team WE, it's about defending that bot side and trying to enable Smlz, especially getting him to level 6 alongside Heal, so they can get the rat. I think it's called the Rat-Tat-Tat now, right? I remember Quick Shot, and I believe it was Cade were having this debate on the LEC.
They've renamed it to Spray and Pray at one point, and then I think it's back to Rat-a-Tat-Tat. This is a LoL fandom search now. So
yeah, it's a long-standing thing. And
Rat-a-Tat-Tat I feel like is what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's debated, right? Some people prefer spray and pray. It sounds cool. It kind of rolls off the tongue. But
it's
also
still
for you
spray and
play-by-plays, right? It's spray and pray now. But you know,
Yeah.
for the play-by-play moments, just open up. Rat-tat-tat-tat. It sounds kind of cool, doesn't it? But yeah, getting Smlz to that point with Hill is definitely going to be the crucial thing. And I think picking up the GP, it's kind of a trade-off when you're thinking about either the KO for safe scaling against this Gangplank. Gangplank can provide a little more cover across the map on any proactive plays that V5 try and make, plus is a positive matchup into Gnar. Or at the very least, it's a matchup where Gnar shouldn't punish the Gangplank too hard, and then you kind of outscale in the team fights. You should, in theory, be providing more outside of those, you know, montage moments where Gnar hits those massive ults.
Okay, well, I'm excited to get into this one because at least for WE, game plan more safely enacted. This time around with Smlz coming back in the bottom lane, hope lies in this man, and it's fun to see as WE challenging V5 with a similar theme themselves. Now, I wanted to talk to you as we see, you know, standard stuff we always see in the LPL, making sure there's not a bot side invade coming through with everyone piling into the lane. Jamada, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what we expect to see in the early game from these junglers and the intricacies behind how they can get bots started.
I mean, I feel like realistically, like you say, like you rounded off that point, it's just going to be a boss-centric game. So I expect both Beishang and BiuBiu to start on their top sides and path down towards their bottom laners and just try and either defend the gank or just effectively ward each other off. It seems like XLB will start on his bottom side, though, in contrast to my point. So, or Raptors, which definitely a bit more of an unorthodox start for Xin Zhao, but we'll give him a little more flexibility, perhaps. No, we'll go towards the red buff. So both junglers on red buff. I was about to say, I mean, hey, for junglers that can start Raptors, it does give you some pretty creative pathing options, but it's not something we see commonly. But we'll start on the red, both sides, as Smlz is just going to open out the ambush. And again, it's not so much about the laning phase per se with this Twitch. It's about that team fighting moment where you open up and you should outrange the Zeri. The Zeri shouldn't be able to do anything. And with the Yuumi on your back as well, being able to sort of provide disengage to any divers with the Lost Chapter is going to basically just buy him the space he needs. And I expect to see the rest of WE play into that as well whenever we see these moments where hopefully Smlz gets to the point where he can open up and try and assassinate some of these squishier members. That being said, though, V5's top side, pretty tanky in theory and should also have their own tools to try and shut down the Twitch.
Well, they need to get through the lane at the very least. And why you say it's not about the laning phase, after what we saw in game one, it does tend to feel like... Yeah, maybe it will be, right? Because Smlz and Heal already forced back a little bit here, but at the very least, it's not that level 1 step up where they got punished so hard by the Nautilus and ppgod that the game felt lost as soon as it began. And so far, so good here for Smlz and Heal. So I guess there's nothing to be but positive from this point on as WE are getting good trades across the board against Photic. And as you talked about in the early jungle game, Beishang has actually done the path that you wanted to see, heading towards the bottom lane and set up himself for mid or for bot of his choosing.
Yeah, so mid will definitely be a little bit difficult. I think if you go for this play, you should be expecting the Xin Zhao on the opposite side. So if they do it, it will be a 2v2. Zin's not too far away.
Yeah, Justice Punch going to be interrupted here. A good shielded Ran. Sonic Wave taken from Beishang, but that forces the flush. BiuBiu is late to the show. As he was looking for a path up in the top side, he's going to get the scuttle as a response, but Beishang still on the chase with Shanks quickly behind him, and the Sonic Wave not connecting means BiuBiu can't follow that 3-man party. BiuBiu forced back, but WE aggressive early is a good start.
Yeah, definitely what you want to see from WE after a game one like that. Still in that aggressive mindset. And again, it's one of the few positive things that we've been able to speak about with Team W, right? Their early game aggression. It can come to bite them. It's a double-edged sword. It comes to bite them in the sort of early to mid-game transition, but seeing them still be proactive towards the mid lane, almost picking up Dream, is definitely very much nice to see. And we definitely want to ensure that we keep that level of aggression up. As we'll just see Smlz interrupt ppgod's recall. Not going to be able to get that one off. For now, WE going to be sitting okay as I say that, though.
Shield of Duran's there. Glacial Path going to be taken. No times out. He flashes away, but it's matched by BiuBiu. One more tick. Looking for the water hit, and it does. Win becomes lightning for a first blood. That becomes gold for V5.
Yeah, BiuBiu just says, hey, Beishang, this is how you gank the mid lane. Really excellent setup from Dream there. Holds onto the taunt to the maximum duration and then pulls the trigger right as Shanks is going to never be able to recall that Glacial Path and get out of that gank for free. Excellent setup, excellent execution, and they find themselves first blood.
It's so aggressive. The flash when you think, oh no, he's already got the summon spell, he won't follow up. We'll look at the replay again, Jamada, because They just burned Dream's flash, and this is what you'd least expect.
Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that Dream is able to get up in Shanks' face like this is definitely a bit of a misstep from Shanks getting hit by that Justice Punch. And again, pulls the trigger right as that Glacial Path kind of is about a quarter of the way out, so that taunt duration lasts the entire of it. No recast can come in. Again, the setup, again, so excellently done by Dream. And like you say, after just losing Flash, it's probably one of the plays you're least expecting in that moment. V5 make it anyway. And not only do they make it work.
And it's important because Dream was falling behind quite a lot in CS after the play happened off the left side of your mid. So for Shanks, still ahead in CS by about 10, 12 at this point, but matters less and less with Dream able to help Xiaolongbao get a kill in this jungle. And now for Xiaolongbao heading towards the bottom side, clearing out the rest of his camps. He is ahead in both farm and in a bit of EXP after getting that kill. But hang on a minute. Smlz and Heal are in the mid lane. This is what you were talking about, Jamada, but it's a lot earlier than we expected. On to ppgod, who's isolated here with Beishang over the wall. The flash is burnt by ppgod and the glitter lands to slow down. But hey, that's such a good play from Heal and Smlz.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of these kind of cheeky things you don't often get to experience because Twitch isn't something that is frequently picked, especially on the LPL, like you say. Smlz is maybe going to get jumped on by V5 if they read where he was properly. Mid lane play.
Shield of Duran comes through, no follow-up once again. Beishang now spotted out, and Xiaolongbao moving up just in case, but a worthy attempt is in the top side, meanwhile. Cannon Barrage has been put down, and remember, that's a global ulti for WE, one that V5 now aware is going to be down for quite a while.
Yeah, really curious to see how that got. Thank you. Picture-in-picture to see why that got blown. Maybe just felt like there was an opportunity to take a 1v1, or just gets jumped on, it seems like, is the answer.
Yeah.
And I think Rich is going to be really happy having blown that one, and V5, like you say, they're going to know that lengthy cooldown is not available for Team WE, and could just use it as an opportunity potentially to force maybe something like a Dragon. They've had fairly consistent bottom side priority, and I think that's the one thing, like we kind of mentioned. This lane matchup, it's not so much about the lane for the Twitch, it's about those team fights later on. The fact that Zeri in most lanes isn't going to be directly the answer in punishing a Twitch in the early phases. That's what makes the Twitch such a strong pick into it. V5 will always have priority for now, especially just the fact that Yuumi's kind of in the lane. Yuumi doesn't really offer you too much lane priority. In that case, is Beishang just going to get forced down. Maybe V5 just kind of leave it on an island, because at the end of the day, Photic's still up in CS. So I think they're going to be comfortable allowing him to continue to farm out and just use the lane priority that they've got in these solo lanes. I'm going to take away this jungle camp, and I expect they're just going to look towards this Herald on spawn. That could give W a window to try and respond with a Dragon or maybe a bot side play of their own. But Beishang hasn't really been too active outside of that mid lane gank. Or the second one, I guess. So he's been trying to attack the mid lane. But again, you know, going towards the Galio, it's really difficult to burst him down. Shanks.
He's close. He's close. But you're right. You know, Beishang has kind of been the response measure. Mid lane, a little bit late, you know, towards the ppgods. Wow, this is so hard. Lulu as well. That's how much we see her. I've got all champions in my head, and apparently Lulu's at the bottom. But ppgod gets a flash over the wall. Beishang a little bit slower than Smlz and Heal. So you're right, you know, kind of always a response here. And I think the most important thing to measure is what you just said about the Herald. That, you know, Xiaolongbao got topside priority, cleared out the camps. With all the lanes doing well, with ppgod now moving too, V5 still have somewhat a run of the map with a 1k gold lead. And now the Herald clear of everything but 1W war. Beishang gets a kick in, ready for ppgod. Shanks comes in, but he's so aggressive. He'll be the first to die his dream. With the counter punch down, slows the play right down. Xiaolongbao running out from BiuBiu as Rich is trying to build up a Mega Nahaba, but he's got completely nothing. As V5 pick up the kill, and WE thinking with their stomachs, apparently.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what the thought process was there, to be honest with you. Maybe just saying, hey, we have the Cannon Barrage up and available just now, so maybe we could look to fight. But again, I don't even think I think it's still just coming full down now. Yeah, it just came off cooldown, so I have no idea. Team W just felt like they could fight it. And the very clear answer was, no, they bloody well could not. Smlz is going to play a bit of a nuisance here. But they just kind of hand over V5 another kill for free. They won't actually give over the Herald at the very least. And I guess that's maybe the only positive to come out of that play. V5 just take away the goal.
But you can see why. Photic's down on the bottom side. V5 are committing their Zeri to stay in the lane. So while Smlz and Heal are here, well, the Herald is a big play, especially within the LPL where tempo seems to be everything at the moment. bottom lane is a massive wave being denied. 20 CS already up. Zeri takes turrets pretty well with a Noon Quiver as well, Jamada. That's a second plate going down, and that's Photic making sure to deny even more from Smlz and Heal.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? Is already a net negative play for WE. They already lost the first kill, and then they lose 2 plates the entire wave, basically. 3 plates. So, I mean, the only way W make this worth is basically just a 4-plate Herald, but how many times are they going to have the opportunity to do that? I'm just not too sure.
Yeah.
And now V5, I mean, they're probably eyeing up BiuBiu potentially. To be honest with you, you could see Dream just get mid lane shove and just walk towards the bottom side of the map, even if Smlz and Heal are up here towards the top side. Just overloading that side of the map could be pretty positive for them. Beishang, though.
Okay, last shot are going to come through. At the very least, Beishang now getting in, but the wild growth from ppgod alongside the flash. The Dragon's Raid from Ridge, but he goes into Mega. Smlz with a brilliant flash away, though. And that might change the plays. Victory 5 is still launched on by this Lee Sin jungle. But meanwhile, the dive in the bottom lane happens. WE looking so aggressive, but they just need a kill. They need something, Jamada, because it keeps getting turned back on their head.
It really does. I mean, they go for the play on the top side. V5 are able to answer. Nothing really comes of it with Team WE. And on the bottom side, Victory 5 were already making this dive. It looked pretty telegraphed to me. Zhao Bao was looking for jungle camps, was looking for the opportunity. And I mean, BiuBiu, in all fairness to him, reads that he's going to get dove anyway, drops the cannon barrage preemptively. But, I mean, you have to wonder, why even be here? I think at this point, just probably give up this tower, maybe walk towards the mid lane because you know Shanks seems to be hovering towards the top side play that you're making. Instead, gives over the kill. Photic gets more plates. And unfortunately, WE hand over a little bit more than they probably had to. And V5, very happy to take the benefit of that play.
I mean, Jamada, they got the first turret blood down on the bottom side. Once again, very early on. Photic got that by himself. He now has an Immortal Shield Bow. Blade of the Rune King for Smlz, but guys, we know how fed this AD carry on V5 side is. And more importantly, it's now almost a 4K gold lead at 12 minutes into the game. Now, it hasn't been the same conditions as the first game, but we're once again on the edge of a perfect game, and it's very early to tell, but I will say that WE, although being more aggressive, just keep running into walls.
All right, well, Smlz has cleanse, at least, and I guess he's invisible, so he's going to be able to walk out. That does help, yeah. But V5, again, just on the prowl, looking for more plays. Won't be able to take up on the opportunity of Smlz not having flash this time, though. I'll say W still have the Herald, so maybe they're able to find something, because V5, they kind of move back towards the mid lane, right? Dream has to catch another wave, but will very quickly move towards the top side, looking for it now, though.
Photic going to pull out the Surge, though, and immediately with the ulti in the kick into the wall, the Wild Growth used. Beishang flashes, Photic gets him, though. Perfect game going to be removed from this one, but for WE, another thing might be removed in the AD carry. Bao chasing up, but Shanks is the lifeguard at this point, with the trade coming through for jungle for AD in the top side.
All right, well, one positive. The game doesn't feel as oppressive for W as it did in game 1. I think
that's true.
We could walk away happy with that. One fun on the top side. Honestly, the fact that Photic is able to pick up the kill onto Beishang is kind of a mystery to me. I think Beishang just took 2 tower shots. A lot of burst damage also came through. Zeri, even at this 1 item mark, can really dish out the DPS quite quickly. Lulu ultimate as well was really, really strong. I think just about interrupted the resonating strike damage.
Yeah.
So V5, really well done to respond to the play. But again, I'm still looking towards where, oh, well, the Herald will get dropped because the timer was running out. And again, we kind of said when this Herald was taken, the baseline had to be probably 4 plates if you want it to even be a net even. Right now, it's not even going to, well, we'll charge.
Well, it will get the charge, but further to your point, I mean, Beishang, the one who collects the gold, it's nothing more than that. BiuBiu and Shanks committed their time, while Rich was able to push up the bottom side. And okay, for WE, still gold is something in this game when they're falling behind so early on. But guys, remember, once again, we're seeing huge CS differentials. Top side is close to 30. Bot as well, before we saw it was about 25. And the kills might even skyrocket now with Bao and ppgod angling for a dive, but they've actually missed lensing this ward. So WE aware and setting out a response.
Sure. Yeah, I think they are. At the very least, Smlz will do his due diligence and just chuck his W in there. And I think once you have the ability to press the E, you just know someone's waiting in the bush. So just leave it, turn around, and will still hold on to this topside tower. And like you say, WE, pending a response to a potential topside play, recognize that V5 aren't going to look to pull the trigger. And I expect the next bit of action will probably be this dragon in 90 seconds time.
Yeah.
I say next bit of action, WE. Now, this is the LPL. I've been told things about the LPL.
You have.
And how they like to just kind of contest everything. So,
yeah.
would I like to see WE contest this dragon?
Yeah, you would.
As an analyst, no. As somebody who's looking for entertainment, maybe. We'll see, though. I mean, Smlz, he's already got the Blade During King, right? So he's, at the very least, able to get a fair amount of damage down. I expect what the build will end up looking like is Blade During King, Runans into maybe a Kraken Slayer, maybe Shield Bow if you feel like the dive threat is super, super high, but typically it's the Kraken Slayer that comes out. Smlz just slipping between the cracks of V5 there. But yeah, I hope they just don't look to contest and Smlz.
Hang on. Rat-a-tat-tat actually comes out from Smlz. He pulls it out very early, dodges away from Wind Becomes Lightning, an attempt on Dream. And to be fair, he didn't even have the Yuumi. Healed back.
No.
And Smlz just went for it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, but you can see the damage that Twitch is able to put out, even at Blade During King. That spike isn't something to kind of be scoffed at right now. You add an extra 2 items to that, or just an item and a half, really. Plus, all of the extra Yuumi AD. Crits can start to come into effect as well. You will definitely start to shred through this front line, but it's about getting there. And right now, V5 on course for a very clean-looking game for the most part. Though they have definitely slowed down the pace a little bit in the last couple of minutes. It's certainly not as snowbally as game 1.
But you can see the objective bounties are up for a reason, right? As Herald's in the top side, Rich is caught out with his pants down bot. A bit of a mistake here from the top lane. A cannon barrage used, over the wall. The crunch gets him out of there. Beishang's hit back by the dragon. The flash in for the Sonic Wave, but Bao here in time. The army has returned, and WE negated as quickly as they started the play. Rich saved by his boys, but now we're going to see if WE can hold strong to the players. Twitch is coming in on the backside. Smlz just used his ulti. Herald going to be used by Photic as well as Glacial Path used. The tomb not in time. Shanks went in, actually already burnt it because it was onto Rich. So a double-pronged play as Smlz trying to kill Rich, but that's denied too. It's like you've hosted a birthday party, but no one showed up.
That's the perfect analogy. Hysterics. I mean, yeah, I kind of just said it, right? For entertainment value, WX trying to contest this dragon would be pretty cool. And I mean, V5, realistically, they were almost always going to be the winners of this exchange. To be fair, Rich almost gets caught out, and you can understand Team WE's mentality in trying to make this play work, but unfortunately, just scattered on too many fronts. Too many people get caught up with Smlz on the backline trying to assassinate Rich and not using his damage on the entirety of the team. We'll get a replay of how things went down. So like you said, Rich caught his pants down a little bit, trying to find a rotation. Fortunately, had the Mega Bar ready, flash over the pit wall, and a hot bite. It's all about XLB with this flash, man. Just it's a hero play. You know, get behind me, Mr. President levels of play. The kick comes out from Beishang, and this is where you kind of think, okay, well, a fight's probably gonna break out because Team W seem to want this dragon at the very least. But it's Shanks that ends up getting bursted down, goes in with the Glacial Path, taunted up, and just 100-0 through all of that burst damage. Smlz on the opposite side, as I was talking about, tries to find the assassination, but you see ppgod actually flashes back when I missed that. I thought was able to get back to his top laner in time, but gives Rich the support that he needs to ensure that he doesn't drop, and Smlz just isn't able to find the assassination again. W just on too many fronts, not on the same page per se. In this instance, Shanks going in, no armor as well. It just felt really bad.
That's what you're talking about coming into today's segment, right, Jamada? Your intro into the LPL was letting us know that WE are a team that really struggled to have these cohesive fights, these cohesive mid-games. We're in the mid-game once again, where for WE, yeah, they're behind 4,000, but still the condition of Smlz, this Twitch, and the comp around him, what it could do. But we just saw that come into fruition where Shanks eased into 3 people without an ulti. Like, his ulti wasn't available. Smlz used the rat-a-tat-tat before in the top lane against Dream, and like, it just doesn't come together. It's these small things that build up massively in the face of V5 as ulti comes through from Reheal, but Rich about to go into the Mega Gnar. I'm not sure about this against the wall. Photic's here. Line him up and knock him down. The kick comes through, though, which is beautiful for Photic over the wall, buying his time against Beishang. No, Yuumi a bit too strong, but XLB to pick up the pieces while Shanks and BiuBiu are on their way out. Everfrost, the slow down, the Shield of Duran. WE still antsy though, with Shanks getting knocked back, knock in, and BiuBiu all the way up. Beishang dies, blood rains on the Rift, and victory 5. They'll take the margins. 2v5, 3v4, any number, it's good for them.
They are ecstatic with the result of that because WE could have very easily walked out, but Beishang just decides to retake the Q. His mind was telling him yes on this play, but it all starts off again with Rich being caught out. It's the second time here. I'm not really sure why he's trying to rotate this aggressively towards the mid lane. Definitely making the right call to go towards the mid lane, but WE find him out in the jungle. They just can't burst him down before the Gnar comes in. Like you said, lined up for Photic. So much AoE damage comes in. Fortunately, Beishang is able to shut it down quite quickly before more AoE can come out. But unfortunately for Photic, not able to pick up anything more. But again,
just
WE,
for their
they can just walk out. They can just walk out at this point, right? Even Shanks getting out of this mess is a bit of a miracle, if you were to ask me, for as long as he did. But Resonating Strike just gets followed up on because they believe that the burst damage is there. BiuBiu tries to follow his jungler, and the same thing kind of said for Hill. Tries to keep his top laner alive, tries to attach to him, just gives over more kills. WE, unfortunately, needlessly giving more kills over to V5. V5 really well executed, but look at the damage. We said it, Photic had a lineup.
He had the dream fight. That's what I was saying before, Jamada. It looks like V5 just with the highlight reel, the highlight play. They're 11-3. They know this game is in their bag. And against WEs, they're trying to make one final hurrah. It's a TP behind enemy lines, but BiuBiu is almost dead before it starts. Shallenbow, the front line, has taken so many ultis. Smlz tagged up, and this Twitch is nowhere near online as Photic explodes into the back line. V5, the element of talent shines again, and this team is rising to the top with each passing series.
And they are just going to probably beeline it towards this Baron here, you have to imagine. V5 are just on fire. There's nothing really more to say at this point. They are so far ahead of Team W. 10,000 gold right now. They're not quite, fastest game of the split pace setting right now, but definitely probably going to make it into the top 10 if I had to wager a guess. As it's a desperation play from Team W, right? They have to try and make something work. Smlz has 2 items. I guess that's just the thought process, but again, XLB Xin Zhao with this ultimate just blocked so much damage initially, and Shanks just doesn't have the survivability if he's not casting the Frozen Tomb on himself. Smlz gets bursted out by Photic, and the rest of Team WE, once that, backline assassination attempt fails onto the front liner, actually, of BiuBiu, they just have to turn tail, but unfortunately still lose way too many members than they probably had to. Now WE staring down the barrel of pretty much a 12,000 gold lead, a Baron, and probably a game that's going to be ending in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, this is dead as doo-doo at this point. Is Rich just headbutting the turret. I'm not sure if this is live right now. It says replay, but maybe in the break or maybe in the replay we saw Rich just butting away. Okay, I take it back. At the very least, Dragon goes down. Third Dragon. Turrets have been demolished. Now onto the base, bar that inner turret on the top side. And, coming into this one, we had so much expectations. Beishang gets kicked back onto Photic. That's nice, but Rich to save the day. President Photic must be preserved as he's healed up, shielded up. Barrels connect, but it doesn't matter. Once again, denying BiuBiu from getting the chain. And it's WE who lose Smlz again, even though they're the ones trying to make the proactive plays. Okay,
yeah,
Photic.
Photic?
He wants the highlight reel. He wants the highlight reel. He's shielded up. He's alive. Takes a turret shot. He's still alive. Okay, ppgod can't save that one. What a madman. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 2. You know he's going to win in the end.
You know what? Respect Photic. Got 3 items. He's like, you know what? I'm going for the play. Send it. And at the end of the day, V5 still pick up this inhibitor on the bottom side. That minion will just about do the job, and they're just going to probably take away 2 inhibitors, go for a reset, unless they feel like they can still end without Photic, which, to be fair, given the lead, you wouldn't blame them for trying, but no need to senselessly hand over any more gold to WE. It's been WE doing that, to be honest, with V5 on quite a few occasions.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we spoke about how, Twitch eventually would get to a point where maybe he could be scary, right? Shutting down the Zeri 1-to-1 is kind of the thought process. Beishang, it's a nice kick. It has to be said, but Rich just here to shut that play down immediately. Again, ppgod, we spoke about Lulu into the Yuumi, just kind of gets free scaling, able to enable Photic later on. And once Twitch is removed from the fight, there's really nothing holding back Photic from making plays like this.
Even jumping over the wall. I mean, that's the trust in your support, right? And You know, people thinking, man, Photic putting on a highlight reel. It is ppgod again, as this time this seems to be the kiss of death. Victory 5. It's like getting kissed by your grandma, you know? You really don't want it. It's very slobbery, and they're aiming for the lips. WE are trying to run away, but you have to kiss grandma, WE. You need the kiss of death. Against the fountain, their backs will turn, but it's Photic who's getting all the kill credit. It's ppgod who deserves back-to-back MVP, and it is Victory 5 who deserve respect for destroying WE in under 47 minutes.
If I had to wager a guess, this was probably the fastest series of summer so far. I don't know the stats, I don't have them at hand, but it probably has to be V5. I mean, that second game felt like a victory lap, if anything, especially the layer portions for Photic in particular. Fantastic game, honestly, and series coming out from them. Just kind of what we wanted to see, right? Into a very weak and struggling Team WE, who unfortunately, despite some of the creativity from this Twitch, right, we don't get to see it very often in the LPL. Just wasn't able to pull it off. Again, the theory is definitely there, but couldn't really take it to a point where it was applicable inside of the game. Yep. V5 just executed where they had to. And again, I feel like just had a really good read on the series, just shying down the bottom side or just playing through mid into bot, whether it was like that in game 1 or in game 2, just enabled them to make sure that Team WE never really had a foot in the door.
Oh, it's hard to look at, right? Because with WE, with that 2-0 against them, there were so few moments where we could highlight this team. Maybe earlier on where we saw trade kills, okay, or WE actually playing aggressively, and I'm talking about game 2. Because Jamada game 1, like, we didn't really get to see any of that. The game was over from the laning phase. At least this time, we got to see Smlz and Heal trying to bring initiative into the roster with this Twitch Yuumi. But once again, V5 outsmarted them. This Galio mid doing so much work too. And I was going to say Shun. And XLB's jungle just so much better than Beishang, who tried to cover so much at once.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, for Beishang, put in a position where, like you say, I think that's the perfect way to phrase it. He had to cover too much at once, right? Whether it was just a consistent pressure towards the mid lane, whether it was Smlz or the substitute having to deal with Jing, rather, having to deal with all of that pressure from the get-go, I think just had too much in his play, right? Not able to really flex his muscles at all throughout the series. And came to a point in game 2 where just desperation picks was kind of what he was looking for on the Lee Sin, because that was all that he could, at the very least, hope to find.
Yeah, some great kicks, some really good kicks here on the Lee Sin. And what if the game was even? What if WE had a bit of a lead? Like, you know, those kicks would have been more significant. Those plays would have been called clutch from Beishang. But unfortunately, when the V5 is so far ahead, we just have to call it what it is, which is a last attempt from WE. And now sitting at 0-4, Jamada, this is rough because they've not only lost to TT, which, you know, haven't been a playoff team in a very long time, only one split of their making, if I'm even right about that. They've versed top esports, which is granted they're going to lose. Weibo Gaming, they took a game off, but that's it. Now against V5, they were clobbered in under 47 minutes. This team is sinking to what has been, I guess, a new low, considering that since 2019, they've kind of always been the team that's made playoff, bar one split.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see, especially, you know, from an outside perspective, rather, where I remember Team WE from that sort of 2017 period, right? You know, being one of the stronger teams coming out of the LPL. So seeing them struggle like this, definitely very hard to see. But yeah, it's just the nature of competition. At the end of the day, you're always going to need teams at the top. And if there's teams at the top, you're going to need teams at the bottom. And right now, WE are fulfilling that role, unfortunately. V5, however, looking as dominant as ever.
All I can say is that this team is headed to the top, and it's going to be fun watching them verse up other top teams.